Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Deploying Future Networks at Scale. My name is Nisha Pillay, and I'm delighted to be your moderator this morning, and I'm especially delighted to take you into a journey, I should say, into the future. Are you ready? Buckle yourself up. It's going to be quite a wild adventure. Why are we looking into the future, beyond 2030, right at the start of day 2 here at Cybersecurity Forum 2030? Well, I'll tell you why. Because the future will be with us before we can blink. We're talking about the networks like 6G and other next-gen networks. If you think we have cybersecurity issues right now, well, wait for the future. We ain't seen nothing yet. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to say we have with us some extremely eminent panelists who've been doing the thinking on our behalf. Let me introduce you to them. We have His Excellency Kyriakos Kokkinos, former Minister of Research, Innovation and Digital Policy for Cyprus. Welcome. We have His Excellency Engineer Mohammed Ben Amour, Director General of the Arab ICT Organization. Welcome, Mr. Ben Amour. And finally, Mr. Bokhar Ba, CEO of the Samina Telecommunications Council. Now, gentlemen, before we begin, I'd like to put this question to you. Where have we got to right now? Let's forget 6G right at the start. Has 5G delivered on its promise? Has 5G actually given us new use case scenarios? Or is it just a quicker version of 4G? Mr. Kyriakos.
All right. The question is almost a closed question. The answer is no. It did not deliver to the promise yet. It's gaining traction. Probably we've made the mistake to overemphasize and consider it as a revolutionary rather than evolutionary from the 4G. But so far, for many reasons that we can discuss down the road, 5G is still on the making.
So tell me quickly, 2 disappointments then.
It's just higher speed, but on the industrial sector, there are no 5G deployments at scale. And on the use cases on the consumer market did not yet deliver anything that it's considered to be revolutionary.
Okay, so that's quite a skeptical response from our first speaker, Mr. Kokkinos. I wonder what Your Excellency, Mr. Ben Amour, thinks. Has 5G delivered on its promise, on its hype, or is it just a quicker version of 4G?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Nisha, for this question. 5G is a breakthrough. It has brought answers for the development of the new technologies that need a lot of data, speed, low latency, and big density. So coming from this point, yes, 5G brought the right answer and is a breakthrough.
Okay, so a much more positive response there from Mr. Ben Amour. So I wonder what we're going to see here from Mr. Bokhar. Maybe somewhere in the middle? What do you reckon, Mr. Bokhar?
Thank you very much, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. To answer your question, we have to look at it from a different perspective. Each market, each country has developed 5G according to a certain strategy. Now, when we look at in the region, in the GCC countries, we have deployed in the early days, among the first in the world, 5G, if I remember, around 2019. Now, there is a misconception about the evolution from 4G to 5G. 5G in many countries in the world has been perceived as an evolution of 4G, which is absolutely wrong. 5G is not only an evolution, it's a revolution in the sense that it's an ecosystem. It is not a natural progress from 4 to 5. It's an environment for connecting everyone, everything, everywhere. As such, 5G is an infrastructure to support the development. So it is not meant initially for the consumer. It's meant for the enterprise, port, airport, and the vertical industries. Now, based on that, I'll be very short. Many countries have promoted 5G as a consumer platform,
Indeed.
a simple evolution from 4 to 5. The way we address it in Saudi Arabia, in Qatar, in Oman, in Bahrain, in UAE, is an infrastructure and environment. So for the moment, we are on our path to deliver on expectation. It's just a recent development.
Okay, thanks very much. So a much more nuanced answer there. Depends on where you are, basically, I think, is what Mr. Bokhar is saying. So I'm going to put a question now to Mr. Kyriakos, since he was the most skeptical about what 5G has or has not delivered. Will 6G meet expectations? Will it be the revolution?
Okay. By saying no, it did not deliver up to the expectations, it doesn't mean that 5G failed. On the contrary, it's been a very successful deployment technically, and also there are some use cases that are still. Remember, 5G is just 3 years old.
Indeed.
And it's also affected by COVID. So, and we are working now on the bridge towards the 6G. We're talking about 5G advanced that will come in a couple of years. And 6G will come around 2030. So yes.
At the earliest.
So at the earliest. And then deployment, the real benefits will start probably 12, 15, 20 years down the road. So yes, we need to work on the standards. We need to work on what to expect and what not to expect from 6G. For sure, one thing for sure is that 6G will deliver speeds that are incredible, 100 times faster or more compared to 5G. That is one aspect. But it's not just that. It's much more than just high speed. In new use cases, we will move from virtual reality to extended reality. We will see a network of networks. And also, remember that 6G is just a wireless connectivity technology that will be working hand in hand, not in competition with other connectivity technologies like satellite communication, space communication. So from a user and industry's perspective, we need to examine what can we do to make the best use of this wireless connectivity.
Wireless connectivity, ladies and gentlemen, super, super, super fast, speeds like we've never seen before, and potential that we're only just beginning to think about. It's still in its research phase. Thank you very much, Mr. Kokkinos.
This is an omni-channel approach.
An omni-channel approach. I love that phrase. We'll examine it further in a minute or two. Let's take a look, a very quick leap into the future now. And I'm going to ask all our panelists, what is the connectivity breakthrough that you're most looking forward to and anticipating? And I'm going to start with Mr. Ben Amour, if I may. Can you give us one example of something you're really looking forward to with these omni-channels?
Yes, I would say that all of new technologies are fascinating, but if you want that I speak about only one, let's say Internet of Things, because Internet of Things has widened the scope of the ICT for many other sectors, energy and oil, healthcare, smart cities. So I think that Internet of Things, IoT, is a fantastic tool today in order to make the life of citizens easier, and it's in the sense of the well-being of citizens.
So making the Internet of Things, which is already underway, but into something which is all-pervasive and touches many different sectors. That is something that the future 6G networks are very likely to make into a reality. Thank you very much, Mr. Ben Amour. May I put the same question to you, Mr. Bokhar? What is the connectivity breakthrough in the future that you're most looking forward to?
Well, interestingly, there are few of them. It will not be fair to stick to one example. Because
I'd like you to stick to one example, please.
when we talk about the broadband network, especially the new generation of Gs, we need to look at from different perspectives because it calls for a collaboration between the different stakeholders across the value chain. One breakthrough is on the regulatory front. we have now most of our regulators, at least in the Middle East, attaining to what we call the G5 regulation, the fifth generation of regulation. Regulators have a tendency now, which is right, to provide economic regulation that will impact the GDP of the nation. That's one. On the technological side, as mentioned by my colleague from Cyprus, 5G, advanced 5G or 5.5G, and heading towards 6G. But the beauty here is we are starting to be very mindful about the carbon emission, reducing the consumption, and these are the possibilities offered by 6G. On the industry side, we used to work much more on optimizing the cost, profitability. Now, telecom operators, investors are looking into the sustainability, which is a different dimension. And the last one...
And is that more likely to be delivered with
Yes.
6G? Sustainability issues, decarbonization?
Sustainability, number one, from the investment perspective, but sustainability in terms of technology development, and as I was talking about, carbon neutrality. And the fourth point, which is very important, is anything we discuss need unlocking access to capital. We need investment, we need financing, we need funding. And for that also, the capital market with the investors are coming with new financial instruments to be able to support the broadband development. So 4 major breakthroughs: policymakers, regulators, technology development, the industry as a whole, and the multilateral development banks.
And bringing it all together is going to be key to the deployment of future networks. And I'd like to ask you, Mr. Kokinos, your thoughts on that. What are the key advantages or idiosyncrasies of 6G that are going to affect its deployment on scale?
All right. I believe that we need to see this through the lenses of AI. One key difference
We need to see it through the lens of AI.
Yes. Why? Because in parallel to this technology breakthrough of connectivity, we see advances of generative AI, especially since the developments of the last year. And I believe that 7 years down the road, at best, probably later, when 6G will be deployed, AI will be at a stage where 6G will have AI in a in a native manner, both in terms of managing the technological infrastructure, as well as in terms of using the use cases, the business models that will be invented through the use of 6G. So we need to understand that, and that will affect the education sector, will affect the way we live, we transact, we communicate at business and social and personal level. So I believe that we will see a deployment of 6G at scale with native AI embedded into it that will facilitate, will ignite unthinkable today things. And another aspect, which is not AI related probably, is the fact that we see a lot of developments on the healthcare sector. I believe that through 6G, we will be able to make our dream come true in terms of predictive and proactive healthcare. We might see sensors floating on our bloodstream. Yes, science fiction,
Yes.
but look 20 years back. Things that we live today were science fiction back then. So I believe that 6G will ignite unthinkable use cases that will, it's our responsibility to approach 6G in an ethical and responsible manner for positive use cases and not negative use cases.
Let's hope you're right, Mr. Kokinos. So I want to put the same question to you from a telecoms point of view, Mr. Bokar. What is it about the distinguishing features of 6G that are going to determine its deployment on scale?
Well, as mentioned, 6G is still in the lab. It will not be here before 2030. A lot is required between the different stakeholders. Standardization, scale, interoperability, and we will be having lots of challenges in terms of cybersecurity because now the frontiers become much more blurred It opened lots
What
of...
do you mean by that? The frontiers will be more blurred and therefore it will have cybersecurity implications?
Well, let's look at the network design and the architecture from 5G going forward. We are starting to have a generation of infrastructure-based, software-based infrastructure. So 5G advanced and 6G, we will see the cloudification flourishing. As such, in terms of investment and network deployment, we have to address the issues of cross-border data transfer. We will have to address, I would say, GDPR, so the protection of data and the people. So we are coming to a stage where, in terms of challenges that we'll be facing in terms of cybersecurity, will be major. Now, cybersecurity is not only about technology, it's less about technology, much more about strategy and mindset. This is something probably that we will be able to address. So the governance is extremely important between the different stakeholders. Government, private sector, and all the rest could fall into what we call the third party. One important aspect, the edge and device that will be connected to the network. We will be having billions of digital assets that might be compromised on the network. So we have intelligent network from 5G to plus. The problem that we are facing is the standardization of the devices that will be connected to the network. We have endless examples.
Indeed. Mr. Benamor, can I ask you, what do you think the cybersecurity implications are going to be of next-gen networks like 6G, especially since data collection is going to happen on an unimaginably greater scale, as we just heard from Mr. Bokar? How can they be managed?
Yes, as you said, all the new technologies are driven by data, and now we are collecting more and more data for each service that we are delivering for citizens, for people. So the implication regarding the cybersecurity issue is the data, and principally the question of privacy, because we are collecting many data, many personal data, and there is a concern about how we will manage this data. And in my point of view, I think that this is very important to create some kind of regulation regarding the data management usage and to protect mainly the personal data. This is the most important fear regarding the new technologies and the big amount of data that they are managing.
Indeed. So, Mr. Kokinos, we were just hearing from Mr. Bokar about the importance of governance. It's going to be even more important because you're going to have data flowing across borders, for instance, more private sector, more public sector interaction. So can I ask you, what do you think it's going to mean in terms of collaboration, in terms of bringing parties together? It sounds like there might be a geopolitical aspect.
Oh yes, absolutely there are geopolitical aspects as well. And in the history of connectivity, since the Marconi time in the early 90s,
1900s, yes.
Until recently, unfortunately, cyber has not been a team sport, and it should be. Throughout our journey of getting a digitally connected world, we made two design errors in this journey. One is that cyber was always coming as an aftermath.
An afterthought, yes.
An afterthought.
Yeah.
And the second is that we forgot, in our excitement to create this connected world, and we have an always connected world, we have a design error that we forgot to include an off switch. We cannot get switched off. And 6G will not have an off switch either. So cyber is very important to come in a collaborative and proactive way rather than an afterthought.
From the beginning?
From the beginning, because the risk is increasing exponentially, or the challenges, I wouldn't say, risk. And there are chapters on cybersecurity around the to-be connectivity of 6G that we did not yet write, we did not yet structure. So collaboration, and this is the purpose of this, so among the key purposes of this event yesterday and today, is how do we get collective wisdom together? How do we collaborate across border, because connectivity is boundless. We don't
So
have
are you
boundaries.
saying that we need to begin to think about harmonization and regulation across different stakeholders and countries
Yes,
much earlier?
and at multiple levels. The technological layer is one thing, but remember, 6G is just one network of many networks that will be connected together. So we need to have a holistic architecture. We need to have a technological understanding how each one is impacting the other, how each transaction. And one of the key aspects that I wanted to touch, about 2-3 years ago, when Metaverse was announced, I started thinking, okay, are we talking about humanization of machines or mechanization of humans? And it was a kind of philosophical or ethical question to sociologists and psychologists. But now with 6G, that is becoming a reality, potentially. And we need to also touch it from the technology point of view, because the virtual reality will become a reality and even an extended reality. So cyber is a team sport that we need to start working today, and through the standards, the architecture standards at all levels, privacy, interoperability, etc., is important.
Hence this discussion here at the Global Cybersecurity Forum, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Bokar, can I ask you, from the telecoms point of view, how can telcos bring together their skills, their experiences, to ensure that the deployment of the next gen, including 6G networks, tackles cybersecurity problems from the outset?
I think it's a great opportunity, and everybody in the room worldwide can attest that we have lived the pandemic, the health crisis, early 2020. And we have seen that our entire social, professional life was supported by the robust telecommunication infrastructure that has been provided by the service providers, resilient, and our children keeps going to school, connected to the hospitals. So the network infrastructure is extremely important, and we have to make sure that it remains resilient. To be able to do that, we need the support and cooperation from government to ensure that we keep having this resilience. 6G is coming with all the advantage presented by Kyriakos. We need more cybersecurity, but we need less cyber control. Cybersecurity.
What do you mean by that? More cybersecurity, but less cyber control?
More cybersecurity in terms of instrument to be able to provide trust to the network, but we need to empower the users. That's what I meant by less cyber control. We need more security, less cyber control. That's number one. Number two, with all these challenges brought by the new network of networks, operators need to invest much more, and they need to be incentivized. So from the private sector point of view, investment, solid and robust network. From the government, we need government to champion that approach, to stimulate human investment, capacity building, awareness with the population. Telecom operators, last point, have an opportunity to provide an extremely valuable value proposition, because today they are dealing with the enterprise. They can provide an entire secure network. And we also have to be mindful about another specific aspect, which is cyber safety, child online protection, because schools are being connected. Now, one last point, Nisha, if you allow me. we still have 36% of the world population not connected. More or less about 2.6
Not
billion
connected
people.
at all.
Not
Yeah.
connected at all. And that is one of the SDGs objective by 2030 to bring the whole planet online. So by having 2.6 billion people connected to the current connectivity process, we are adding more challenges into the network, and we need to build trust. So I believe, from my perspective, that telecom networks have a great role to play, provided that they are supported by the entire ecosystem.
Mr. Bokhar, thank you very much. Mr. Ben Amour, I'm going to give you the final word. What do you think are the highest priority actions from a security point of view that will need to be undertaken to protect the environment of the next-gen networks?
Yes, let me say first that we are shifting more and more from the traditional world to the cyberspace. And when getting in cyberspace today, new digital technologies, applications, services helped a lot of people to make their lives easier and easier. But they create a lot of challenges, a lot of risks, and this is the role of cybersecurity bodies. That's why I think that there is a need of first international cooperation in order to have a same and concerned point of view regarding the risks and the challenges and the way how to face them. There is also a very big need for standardization, because you know today with artificial intelligence services and applications, the risk is very important, and the life of people is under the hand of some people that might not be good as we want. So there is a need for standardization. And the third thing is regulation at the stage of national, regional, and also international.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ben Amour. So what I've taken away from this conversation is the importance of thinking about cybersecurity early and not as an afterthought, as we heard from Mr. Kokinos. The importance of standardization, we just heard from Mr. Ben Amour, and the importance of government support and international support to growing networks, new networks, at an early stage. Because remember, ladies and gentlemen, at the same time, we're trying to expand the number of people who are in the connected world. A third of the global population isn't yet. So while we're bringing in all these new possibilities and virtual reality, we're also bringing on lots of global citizens into the potential of the digital world. So the challenges are great indeed. I found it really interesting. I hope you have too. Let's put our hands together to thank our eminent panelists, Mr. Kyriakos, Mr. Ben Amour, and Mr. Bokhar.